I felt like we were all excited to see Kron back, right? Fantastic jiu-jitsu. Notably, yeah, he has always had this old school game. I don't know why people are just picking up on it now, but his whole thing is close guard, back takes. I mean, just like none of this new school Berimbolo type crazy jiu-jitsu stuff. And he implemented his game plan against Charles Jourdain, except this time it felt like we saw a little bit of a regressed reversion of Kron Gracie, where he just didn't want to throw. He didn't want to open up. He didn't want to use his hands. Terrible game plan against a Charles Jourdain, but Jourdain, you have to admit, he did all the right things in terms of just shelling up and not leaving himself extended to get his arm caught in something. What do you think?
Yeah, no, man, you said it yourself there. Perfect way to avoid all the dangers that Kron Gracie has to offer. And I loved once Jourdain started to seeing what was going on. He started throwing uppercuts, stuff down the middle, get away, and then scooting off on the corner and actually dipping out. It was interesting to see how much in 3 years the game of MMA has really evolved. Because you're right, back in when Kron was still fighting 2019, 2018. He was dangerous. His hands were dangerous. He looked sharp. He had multiple assets of the fight game to get going. And this one, you saw just Air Jourdain was levels above on the striking game. Saw everything coming possible on the feet. And then when the ground game happened, he was still able to stay calm, composed, and defensively sound and fight his fight. Very impressive for Jourdain.
Yeah, I'll say I was just completely blown away by Jourdain's maturity in this fight. We had mentioned it before. This is why it's hard to bet on him because he's always doing something wild that you don't expect. And you're like, no, don't do it. Like you need to stick to the game plan. You need to strike with him. And that's exactly what he did. No flying knees this time. No crazy spinning shit. At the end of the day, man, he just stayed within himself, and I think that he was looking at the long game here, the long con, and the long con was get a win over the Gracie. Now you're in the history books. But for Kron, man, let's talk about this side because it kind of mars Jourdain's fantastic performance. What a lot of people are arguing some crazy things. They're saying maybe he just needed money, maybe he was forced into this, and maybe his people influenced him to fight, and he really doesn't want to fight. I mean, did you read into any of that stuff? Did you get that vibe or that sense from Kron? I mean, the whole fight week and everything.
Not really. It seemed like Crone to me is just a mountain man who likes his privacy. He likes to live in Montana, go on his farm, hunt, kill, do things, train to fight, and nothing wrong with that. And I'm always of the firm belief, and I guess everybody is of their own, but nobody, as a man, as a human being, nobody can make you do anything. You can always, somebody has a gun to your head, you can always take the bullet. You do not have to do anything somebody is trying to make you, unless they can physically do that. And that's why we train to fight. That's why we train to protect ourselves, because nobody can physically do that. So I don't know, man. I don't buy into it. Maybe he needed money, because that is the ultimate. You will do a lot of things because you need money. Kron Gracie doesn't seem like much of a possessions man or a clout kind of guy. So I don't know if the money was necessarily chasing there. What do you think, Derek?
Well, in the wise words of my man AJ right here, you always have a choice, and he did have a choice going into this one. I will say this, the storyline behind Kron, obviously we don't know Kron Gracie, but the storyline behind him as a personality, as a public figure, is that his family, because he is a Gracie, he is from the direct lineage of the Gracie, he's Hickson Gracie's kid. I mean, they kind of put him in these positions where he needs to compete and he needs to put on for the Gracie name. He always said, he's like, that's in my blood. It's just part of my story. It is what it is. So in everything he does, he represents the Gracie clan. Well, maybe they're like, your ass needs to get out there and need to go fight. Even Dana White, though, after the performance, he's like, I don't want to shit on him. Didn't have the best performance, but I really like him. He's a cool guy. So there's something going on. I don't know what's going on here, but I will say this was a big, big win for Charles Jourdain. This is arguably one of the biggest wins name-wise in his repertoire, even though if you look at the context and you look at the reality, it's not really the biggest win. Everyone was saying, they're like, it looks like Kron Gracie just got out of a time capsule from 1995 and fought the current generation. And I think this is a good point in that argument of these new guys are so dangerous because they're good at everything. Back in the day, everyone was a specialist. Specialists don't really exist anymore. So do we see, I mean, everyone has a contract to fulfill, but do we see Kron Gracie in the octagon again? Like, do we want to see this performance time and time again?
This performance, no, Derek, but I do think this performance will shed light to Kron Gracie and show him exactly that he's still a little bit behind, a little bit, back in his own specialist era, like you're talking about. He develops, he grows, he kind of starts being more of that pressure fighter, always in your face, and then able to get to where his specialty lies. That's the kind of fighter I think we can see at a Kron Gracie, and I do think we see him fight again. Definitely not up at this caliber, as an Air Jourdain, but maybe a little lower. Give him a little tune up, see how he goes, see how he fares. I like him, man. I like the idea of having at least some sort of lineage in UFC. It's always providing back and forth from the past to the future, but not if you're getting whooped on.
Yeah, I mean, fair point, brother. Fair point. Big win for Charles Air Jourdain.